If I were to ask you, why aren't you a millionaire? You would come up with some random excuse, some reason, and say, I don't know, I can't do that. I can't become a millionaire. I'm not in a position to do that. Well, why? Well, I wasn't born into money. My job doesn't pay me that much. There's infinite reasons that you could come up with that you're not a millionaire. And I think that people miss the power of delusion. People don't understand the weight that being delusional carries with you. It's something that is overlooked by everybody. And there's also a lot of misconceptions with it. So I wanted to go over it today because it's something I personally believe in a lot. And I try to base my life around, it sounds weird, but being delusional. It's not like an edgy kind of, oh, I'm an arsonist kind of thing. No. It's I can do anything mindset. And I don't understand why so many people don't have this mindset. It's impeccable. I absolutely love it. So let's go over it. Essentially, the idea is that if you believe you can do something, you can do it. René Descartes is famously quoted for saying, I think, therefore I am. And that's something that's glossed over a lot of people. With a lot of philosophy, people are just like, oh yeah, obviously, even with like all scientific discoveries, like Newton drops an apple, yeah, it falls. What are you, stupid? Like, yeah, that's how philosophy is too. It's just like, yeah, you think that, yeah. But that's not what it means. I think, therefore I am, is essentially, if he thinks he's sad, he becomes sad. And it's not he, it's you. We, us. If you think you are good at something, it's weird, you become good at it. And it sounds like that doesn't even sound real. Oh yeah, sure, am I a wizard? No. Trust me. And if you don't trust me, don't trust me. Put it into practice and find out for yourself. I promise you will find something. It is just an impeccable way to go about life. I think, therefore I am. It's the importance of mentality. Some people are put in this victim mindset and they stay in that victim mindset their whole life, and they're a victim for their whole life and they never get out of their situation. If I believe in my head that I am destined to be rich, I'm going to become rich. Now, but that's only if I pursue that. So you can be delusional in many types of ways, right? I can be delusionally insane. I can be seeing things. I can think everybody's out to get me. There's drones always above my head, which, probably satellites watching me, but whatever. But that's not what this is about, okay? The power of delusion is, like I have previously said, it's you think you can do it and you can do it. I think, therefore I am, we're taking that and we're putting it into action, okay? I think, therefore I am is more of like an emotional kind of, I think I'm happy, therefore I'm happy. But I want to take that and put it into an action mindset, okay? So, the benefits of this, right? False sense of confidence creates this mindset. So, a false sense of confidence, a lot of people are going to associate with arrogance. And I'm going to get into that because... we'll talk about that. But that's what you need, is a false sense of confidence. If you have this idea in your head that you can't do it, you've given up. And like I talked about in my last video, giving up is the worst thing you can do. You've just failed. But imagine giving up before you've ever even started. How do you know that you can't do it if you've never done it? And there's so many applicable things to this. I'm going to give one quick example. I used to think that I used to not care, right, if I was smart or not. Like, it didn't matter to me. That was never something, like, I even thought about. I thought, yeah, I'm not really that good at school, whatever. And then I had a mindset change. And I was sitting in class, and my teacher was talking about building rockets, okay? And I was looking at that, and I was thinking, man, I really wish I could build a rocket. I'm not smart enough for that. And I looked down and I was like, well, am I smart enough for that? Like, how smart do you have to be to build? It's rocket science. It's like the hardest thing ever. That's what people say. But how smart do you have to be? And that was my question. So I went up to my teacher after class and I said, hey, you talk a lot about physics. do you think I could borrow a physics book off of you? And he's like, yeah, sure. Hands me a book on quantum mechanics. And I mean, I remember looking at this book, I look at the book, I look at him, and I'm like, all right, man, thank you. And I'm thinking, I can't understand quantum mechanics. I barely pass macroeconomics. Like, I have just literally, at this point, probably 4 months ago, I dropped out of college. And now I'm going to read a book on quantum mechanics. So I put it in my room for like a week or two, whatever. And I'm laying there, I don't even read it. And I'm bored one night, and I'm thinking, maybe I should open that book. So I do. I open this book on quantum mechanics, and I'm thinking, I'm going to have no idea what I'm reading here. And then before I even read, that was my thought. I'm not going to understand this. And I was like, you know what? Let me really, really try to understand this. Let me lock down and see if I can understand this. And there were some big words, and I had to Google some stuff, and it was a lot of abstract thinking. But I realized about, halfway through the first chapter that I get this. I was like, this makes a lot of sense to me. And it's really interesting. I think specifically it was on reflection, and if you've ever heard of the double slit experiment, I mean, very interesting stuff, honestly. And I mean, it was marvelous to me. I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I think somebody asked me what I was doing. I was like, oh, I'm reading a book on quantum mechanics. I think it was my mom. She's like, no, you're not. What is that? No, you're not. Sent her a picture of it. And I was like, look at this. Who's not, right? I'm a pimp. I read whatever I want, right? And, it was like this idea of, she was like, wow, like, maybe my child is smart, dropped out of college, right? And then that kind of hit me in the head. Maybe I'm smart. And from that point on, I associated myself with being smart. And it sounds like arrogant, it sounds cocky, oh, you think you're so smart. It's not that. It's that I think I am smart. Now, really quick, really, really, really quick, I'm going to define my definition of being smart, okay? I think being smart is an ability and a willingness to learn. Now, I'm going to go way more in depth in this in another video, but to sum it up, being smart isn't how much you know. It is how much you're willing to learn and how quickly you can learn it. So there's definitely a little bit of talent in there, just being able to retain information, but there's also a yearn to learn, as I like to call it, because it rhymes and I think it's funny. But that's what I mean by smart. I'm willing to learn. And from that point on, I had this mindset. And it was weird. About a month, maybe a couple weeks after I took on this mindset, people started calling me smart. And never in my life had somebody been like, man, you're actually really smart. Never had anybody said that to me. And I was like, wait a second, I think I'm smart. And somehow people start saying I'm smart. Maybe there's something to this. And that was when I realized the power of delusion. I can do literally anything I think I can do. Now, let's take a look at that mindset real quick. So back to what I was talking about with action, where you fail before you ever begin. You don't even know if you can do it, but you've already told yourself you can't. This mindset drives action, and action drives results. You can never even get to the place to fail if you don't start. And you don't start if you think you can't do it. Why do you think you can't do it if you've never tried? If you've tried and you failed, went over that in my last video, how did you fail? Did you mess up? Did you make a mistake? Did you lose? That's not failing. It's failing when you give up. Keep going, keep trying until you can do it. Continuous action, if you just keep trying, progress will come from that. You will learn, you will get better, and that creates ability, and then that's results. That's the benefit of this mindset. It is absolutely beautiful. It is beautiful to say, I'm smart. I can do this, I can do that. Now hold on, because that sounds arrogant. Oh, you think you're so smart. Let's talk about arrogance. The definition of arrogance is an exaggerated sense of one's abilities. Okay? Is that bad? Now, I didn't include the second half of that, because the second half is exaggerated sense of one's abilities that inhibits them. It said it hinders personal growth. Okay, that's different. So an exaggerated sense of one's abilities, okay, that's good. I mean, right? As we've seen, I think, therefore I am. That's a good thing, to have an exaggerated sense. I think I can do this. I might not even be able to, but I think I can. And then the second part is it hinders personal growth. Arrogance is saying I'm the best. Delusional is saying I can be the best. That's the difference. There's an interview with Kanye where the interviewer says, "Do you think you could be in the NBA right now if you tried?" Kanye says yes. Now, I heard that and I like leaned back in my seat. I'm like, this guy's crazy. And then he's like, yes, I could. And the interviewer's like, no, come on, you can't do that. And Kanye's like, I think I could do anything. And I realized like he's on he's right. He's on to something. Kanye is like, I mean, I don't know what he's been on recently, but he's got a lot of money, he's got a lot of fame, got a lot of fortune, he's living the life. And it's that mindset. I think I can do anything. But you have to stay away from arrogance. That's where everything goes bad, where you let it hinder your personal growth. Being delusional still involves a lot of hard work. Okay? That's the big takeaway from this video. You have to still work hard to achieve these goals. You're not just thinking, oh, I naturally have the ability to do this. No. Well, you might, I don't know, but no. You have to work for it. And to work for it, you have to think you can get it. It's honestly, it's very simple, but a lot of people jump over this idea. And you know what? I'm going to tell one more quick story here about the power of delusion. So this is kind of just like, some people would call this a stupid thing I did, right? I used to live in Wyoming, okay? I don't know why. Wyoming's a weird place. But there was snow on the ground, like a lot, right? Because it's Wyoming. And I really wanted a Mustang. I've been a Mustang guy since I was a little kid. And I didn't know how to drive manual, okay? I had played like little sim racing things before where I, kick the clutch pedal and pretend like I know what I'm doing. But I'd never driven manual. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy a manual Mustang. Do you think anybody told me that was a good idea? Hey, bud, there's snow on the ground constantly, and you want to buy a manual rear-wheel drive muscle car with absolutely zero experience driving manual? Yeah, I do. So what do? 2 weeks later, I go and I buy a Mustang. And, it went about how you thought it would go. If you've ever driven manual, you would know when you're first starting out, you stall a lot. So to not stall, you kind of dump the clutch and, get going real fast. So that's what I would do. And then I would spin my rear tires and I would spin out. So it was either I stall the car or I spin out. And I mean, I remember having this big puffer coat. I had a beanie on. And I mean, I think I maybe had gloves. I don't remember. But I would have the windows down. I mean, it was so cold outside. And I would get in my Mustang, and for hours, I would drive in a square. It was a straight road, you turn, another straight road, it was just 4 straight roads with some stop signs. And I drove there for probably more than 10 hours before I got on the actual road. I would do that little loop and then park in a Walmart parking lot off one of the roads. And that's all I would do. And I would take I have an Audi, so it's Quattro. I would take my beautiful, snow-capable automatic machine, and I would drive it to my death machine muscle car. And then I would drive But a lot of people would have said, I don't want to buy a manual. I have nobody to teach me. I don't care. I don't care about that. I don't need somebody to teach me. In my head, I could drive a manual. I'd played that stupid little racing sim all the time. I'd been in an arcade playing Mario Kart with that little stick shifter on the right there that only goes to 4 gears. I'd done that once. I can drive a manual all I want. And you hear that, I don't actually think I could. I did not believe I could drive a manual, and I couldn't. But there was also, in front of all that not being able to, I knew I couldn't. That was way in the back of my head. I didn't even think about that. I didn't care about that. Right at the forefront of my brain was the idea, yes, I could. I can drive a manual. Who says I can't drive a manual? Absolutely nobody. Well, I mean, a lot of people said that, and they said that even when I could drive it, but, nevertheless, right? I I was so convinced that I could do it that I gained the ability to do it with hard work, with 10 hours of driving through snow. And I mean, you know how many times I spun out? Like, a lot, all right? And people looked at me really weird, but every time I had a huge smile on my face. One, because I was in a Mustang, and two, because I didn't really care, right? Now, I've been a fan of this mindset for probably the past year and a half or so, and it's helped me a lot. I could tell, I mean, infinite stories about it helping me. I'm actually currently, I guess, crafting another story, one would say. Like maybe a poet would say that. A normal person would just say, I'm working on trying something new, but I'm not, I'm a poet. So, but yeah, I'm trying to learn day trading, and I'm going into it with the mindset of I can do it. And, I actually took a couple trades. Well, I didn't take trades, but I took fake trades today, and I did pretty good. So we'll see how that goes. But I wanted to tell a story about somebody else. So this is a kid I knew. He's my friend, and this was back in trade school once more. And he had dropped out of high school, like 2 GPA, and I want to say not the smartest cookie, because I don't mean that in a mean way. He just didn't care to learn. He didn't try every test. He went into a mindset of, guess who's going to get the lowest grade? It's me, just stuff like that. And I got paired up with him for this project. And this project was to make a PowerPoint and teach it to the class on something, whatever you want, essentially. It was supposed to be something car related, but I was good friends with the teachers, and they told me I have free will to do whatever I want. So I did something called general relativity. General relativity is the guiding principles, the physics that hold our universe together. I'm not going to explain general relativity, of course, but it's essentially the gravitational fields of planets and things of that nature. E equals MC squared is a part of that. But yeah, I wanted to do it on that. And he pairs me up with the kid that consistently gets the worst grade. I think it was on purpose. He said it was random, whatever. But this kid, he comes up to me, and he's like, and this was a point where everybody had just assumed that I was smart, it was pretty cool. I never really thought I would be in a situation like that. Obviously, not arrogance. I'm just saying that, you get the idea. But he was like, I don't know, man, you're really smart. Like, I don't want to do something weird. I was like, all right, let's make a deal. If I can teach you general relativity in under an hour, you'll present on it. See, I don't think you can do it, man. And I was like, let me change your mindset real quick. And I gave him the spiel here. And after, he was like, you know what? Yeah, you know what? Let's do it. I want to do general relativity. I was like, yeah, dude, you can learn it. I promise. So I talked to my teacher about it. He's like, really? You're gonna teach general to him? You're gonna teach physics to him? Yes, I am. And the teacher's like, okay, here, I'll give you a separate classroom. So we go across the hallway. I have a picture of it. I might put it up on screen there of the board. And the board, I mean, it was, by the end of the lesson there, absolutely covered in just all these very confusing looking drawings. And I remember the teachers came in and they looked at it and they were like, they didn't believe in this kid at all. But he believed that he could do it. And to be fair, we gave a presentation and it smacked. It was great. And I mean, I think I remember after the presentation, they pulled everybody to this separate classroom so we could use the board. Super interesting. And then everybody went back. And I remember somebody saying like, wow, really unfortunate for whoever has to go after that presentation. And I looked at the kid and he was happy. He had a smile on his face. So I was like, you know what? Like, hell yeah. That's just impeccable to see. I mean, that's marvelous, right? And just to think, literally 2 hours before, he didn't even think he could do it. And then he honestly did a really good job. And he understood a lot of it. I was pretty impressed with him. I think he was impressed with himself. And it just goes to show how much that mindset difference makes. And, it all ties back. We're going to go back to the title of the video here, The Power of Delusion, right? And, some people wouldn't call that delusion. That's pretty small scale, saying that, you could understand. But just the ability to think that you can do anything. I mean, it's just, I really recommend you to try it. If you've never thought about it, there's always something that you've wanted to do. I guarantee it. It could be art. It could be going for a run. It could be, endless possibilities, man. And just please just try and go in with the mindset of I can do it. That's all you got to, that's what you got to think. You got to think, I am able to complete this task. I'm able to learn this thing. I'm able to do this, that, whatever. And I promise you, you will do it. Thank you very much for watching. This video might have been a little scrambled. It was mostly stories. I don't really have that much to say about, it's pretty simple. The power of delusion, right? But, drop a like, drop a comment if you feel like it. If you got something to say, I'll answer it. I mean, realistically, I'll get to it. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good day, and you put this into practice and get something you've always wanted to get done. Hope you knock it out the park.